But we need to understand what exactly is blockchain technology. Shantanu Mukherjee ji, requesting to annotate the content. May I request you to please don't do that. Thank you so very much. Because I have just started. There's no need to annotate. You can ask question. Well, Industry 4.0 is a revolution. All of you must be knowing that we are in the fourth revolution of industry, and where the manufacturing industry leverages the potential of digital technology to transform the way machines and humans interact. Why? For first of all, rapid production. Second, it can also be customized production, like human-centric design. Today, the cars for 6 feet 3 inch person and for 5 feet 3 inch person are of the same size. Think of having, if you wish to go to a car company, you say that I want this kind of car, which is suiting my preferences. Accordingly, that car can be rapidly manufactured. Think about that. So, Industry 4.0 is having that kind of revolution. But when you are having a car of your own choice and design, do you expect that it should be low cost? Industry 4.0 gives you cost effective and just in time manufacturing as well. Above all, we have seen that these industrializations have led to a lot of pollution, and our environment has been deteriorated. Ozone gas and all those things are issues. So it focuses on green technology and environment friendly production. So if you see Industry 4.0 on the, I seek your attention on the picture, starts with the concept of smart factories, smart grids, right? Smart grids, which is center of today's this workshop's session, workshop attention. Then you have smart buildings, smart products, smart logistics, and smart mobility. All these things combined together are the focus of Industry 4.0. So, how blockchain technology can be used here in this case? Well, with the evolution, if you see in the last 5-10 years, you have seen that cyber physical systems and Internet of Things, these are two buzzwords. Not only buzzwords, not only they are buzzwords, but you must have seen that things are now going digital to a great extent. So, with this, a lot of things have been automated, and applications are now getting distributed over time and space. Whether it is your vaccination, you can see vaccination has been at mass level and in India, not only in India, in rest of the world also. This is one example where you can see that these applications are distributed over time and space. So this application can be, for example, vaccination at mass level everywhere. Things are getting done every day. You see that a lot of information is fetched by the central server of CoWIN. But the core business, what the core business here is the vaccination, for example. Regulatory authorities, record keeping agencies are still all highly centralized. So you must be thinking, what is the problem in this? Well, as we shall see, there are a lot of problems with the highly centralized systems. And these becomes the major bottleneck, especially in the growth of digital economy. Because in digital economy, distributed systems should have different types of rights at their end so that things can be changed or things can be immediately applied. Services can be immediately given to the right kind of people. All this is possible only when the applications are truly distributed, right? So we need a decentralized trusted system. When you why we are right now governments are all having centralized system, because there is no trust mechanism that has been developed. So we need a decentralized trusted system of transactions and supply chain for scaling up the digital economy, right? So this is something very important. The supply chain is a trusted system, and the any transaction that you make in terms of information transaction, money transaction, all this has to be through a trusted system. Like you make a payment of 500 rupees to Amazon, how it becomes a trusted system, because there are two banks, the Amazon's bank, your bank, and an intermediate payment gateway. All these three are trusted systems. Then only you are you ensure you I mean you are assured that you have paid to the right channel, to the right person, and the amount, the based on this amount you will be getting the services or the product. So for all this, blockchain technology turns out to be a wonderful solution. So blockchain does what? It enables a secure way, remember, of peer-to-peer transaction. Remember, if I have to pay you 500 rupees, it is through my Google app, my payment method. It will be reaching to a central payment method of, say, Google or something, or your bank, my bank, and then from my bank, if it is ensured that 500 rupees are there in my account, then only that transaction will be made to a trusted third party. Now, all this is possible if I have a security of all the transactions. So, blockchain enables a secure way of peer to peer transaction. Now, here again, you will say it's peer to peer. I'm paying to you, you are paying to me. No, there are third parties involved. Is it possible that I pay digitally to you 500 rupees, or you pay 500 rupees to me digitally without any intervention of a third party? That is exactly is what blockchain does. So it's a peer-to-peer transaction of digital assets in a trustless network. Remember, trustless network, secure, and peer-to-peer transaction without any intermediaries. That's very important. So blockchain technology was actually originally created to support Bitcoin technology. So, in order to understand what exactly is blockchain technology and how does it work, we need to understand Bitcoin cryptocurrency. And therefore, I'll take some time to introduce to you what is Bitcoin cryptocurrency and what is Bitcoin network. In recent years, it has been found that blockchain can provide solution in many different areas. So it has been applied to a broad range of applications like finance, agriculture, healthcare, governance, manufacturing, distribution, many things have been applied. So let us take a very simple example of this transaction that happens in case of a typical online transaction. You can see the customer buys using certain channels. Suppose various channels are there, mobile, laptop, and then many other methods of online systems are there. So first, buying process, the making the order is initiated. I wish to buy some books, say. So then the merchant environment, suppose you are buying from Amazon, Flipkart, whatever, merchant's environment will be looking for, or for doing order management, it will look for whether the placed order, against the place order, the products exist or not, is in sufficient quantity. And then what kind of amount has been mentioned there? Is it does it also require some delivery charges? All these things will be managed, and once that is managed, it will look for the payment, right? So cyberspace environment is doing what? Cyberspace environment is giving you whether the number of products ordered by the customer are sufficient. Is the price increased or it is the same price? So this cyber source environment will provide all these information. I'm giving you just two examples. Then the cyber source environment will go to the third party processor, which can be, say, a payment gateway. The payment gateway will be going to your bank, the issuing bank. Issuing bank will confirm that this much amount can be paid. Once that is possible, so what will happen? This, so you can see number one, number two, number three, number four. Now issuing bank is confirming, and the third party processor is also confirming. Then as a result, order confirmation goes, you can see here. And at the same time, approximately during this time, the payment will be made through the third party to the acquiring bank. So you can see the very simple order, Amazon, that takes just a minute, less than a minute's time, consists of all these 7, 8 steps, right? This is the typical online transaction. Now, can these types of people be avoided? Is it possible that I only get, say, the merchant? I'm only bothered about the merchant and the customer. Is it possible? There can be a cyberspace somewhere, but to keep a record of everything. But is it possible that I only look at this part? This part, right? That is the possible. Now, so for this kind of getting this kind of peer-to-peer transaction in a trustless network and also in a secure way, Bitcoin provided the concept, proof of concept. So what is Bitcoin and what is blockchain technology? First, let us understand what is Bitcoin. On the right, you can see the symbol of a Bitcoin, and most of you must be knowing that Bitcoin is a very high value cryptocurrency. So according to a white paper written by, like, it varies from it was recently Bitcoin values were down to, say, some 6 lakhs per one Bitcoin is 6 lakhs rupees, and a month ago, 2 months ago, it was 8 lakh rupees. So according to the white paper written by pseudonymous author Satoshi Nakamoto, who was the inventor of Bitcoin, in 2008 he writes in his white paper, what is a Bitcoin? It's a purely peer-to-peer version of electronic cash, which would allow online payments to be sent directly from one party to another without going through a financial institution, like not your bank, not my bank. I pay to you, you pay to me. That's all. Like no third party. So there is a network of people who will be making. But when I say I pay to you, I may not be knowing you. That's also very important in Bitcoin. That Satoshi Nakamoto is still unknown. People do not know who is Satoshi Nakamoto, whether he was a single person or there was a group of people, whether he was actually Japanese or there were a group of people who were in Europe. So a lot of people kept on searching because it keeps high security, high privacy also level. So nobody would ever know that to whom we are paying. But this trust is built that if I'm paying you, I will be getting some digital assets in return, right? That is where Bitcoin takes a long leap. So it's a digital cryptocurrency. and it provides a secure global system between two parties without involving any third party or intermediary. Remember this. So it showed a way because people were thinking how to have a peer to peer transaction, online transaction in a trustless environment. So it showed a way to have one to one transaction between parties, enabling trust, number one. And one should also be able to track all the transactions. So, tracking all transactions without entrusting the record keeping process or central intermediary. For example, in the context of a smart grid, let us consider this example that there are two houses, both of them have solar systems installed on their rooftop, and I am also producing solar energy in my house, and my neighbor is also producing solar energy in his or her house. Now, whenever there is an extra and there is a shortage in my neighbor, in case of my neighbor's house, or they require more electricity, is it possible that I uh, supply the electricity and I get the digital cash in return? Is it possible? It is possible right now through a central authority, that is Madhya Pradesh. In case of Madhya Pradesh Purva Kshetra Vidyut Vitran Company, that is taking from Madhya Pradesh Transmission Company, and that is taking from Madhya Pradesh Generation Company. Right? So there are three companies. One is a generating company, the other is transmission company, the third is distribution company. So generating companies are taking care of power generation through different renewable and other resources sources as well, and their normal electric supply, electricity generation through their normal source. So this is not possible right now that can purchase and sell this commodity without the intervention of a third party like an electricity distribution company. Right now, it is not possible. So, in the context of a smart grid, people are doing research, and some experiments have already been shown to be successful, where through the smart grid technology, this is possible, right? So, Bitcoin is not issued, remember, or controlled by any financial authority. Like rupees, Indian rupees are issued, like gold coins are issued. So, all this is not issued by any financial authority or government. It is used to securely store and transfer any amount of value from one geographical location to another geographical location without any third party involvement. Of course, internet is being used in this. Two parties can directly collaborate to buy or sell goods and services without the permission of a third party. So services can be electric supply, for example. Well, so Bitcoin is also known as a digital gold. Remember that it cannot be hacked or stolen, as it uses cryptography and very strong cryptography to secure itself. If you have any questions, you can ask me. By maybe I'll check the chat box from time to time to answer your question. Okay. So, uh, to avoid now, whenever I'm making a peer to peer network in a trustless environment, somebody can cheat on this. For example, I'm simultaneously making payment to Flipkart and Amazon for a pair of shoes to Flipkart and a book to Amazon, right? Now I have got only 1200 rupees in my bank, for example, right now. Uh, how it is made possible that for this 1200, out of this 1200 rupees, suppose the book is worth 900 rupees and the pair of shoes are worth 600 rupees, so it will be 1400 rupees that I must have, but I have only 1200 rupees in my pocket or in my bank. So right now, our bank is the central authority. May I request you again to please put off mute your mics. May I request all the participants because it may disturb other participants. So may I request all the participants to please mute your mics. Still some people are speaking.
I request all the participants please mute their mic.
Madam, you can also mute as an administrator.
Okay.
Just check somebody is still speaking.
Okay, I'll be taking care of it.
Because that is a little disturbing to others as well.
Yes, ma'am.
So Dr. S. Sarvaran is, may I request Dr. S. Sarvaran to please mute your mic. Thank you. Thank you so very much for your help, cooperation. Thank you. I am getting why cryptocurrency is so volatile and very unpredictable. We'll come to that later. So first of all, let us understand what is this cryptocurrency. So suppose you are spending 1400 rupees. So there is a central authority that will definitely deny payment of 1400 rupees if you already have only 1200 rupees. So one of the orders will be declined because you do not have enough money. In case of peer-to-peer network, how this can be made possible? Because you are only controlling your amount. So this is known as double spending. Like you have only 1200 rupees and you have simultaneously placed order for 1400 for two different things. So that requires 1400 rupees. So 200 rupees is a double spending, or maybe some 400 rupees is the double spending, right? So without taking the services of a trusted central authority, how the double spending can be avoided? That is the problem in the peer-to-peer network. So Nakamoto identified two main requirements for peer-to-peer network, P2P transaction. So what are these two main requirements? First of all the transactions have to be publicly announced. By publicly announced, what do I mean? You have a network of people who are having transactions, who are agreeing to make transactions peer to peer, but every single transaction will be publicly announced. Now you will say, well, this may cause security issues, but then your identity is not known. So there's no security issue. So publicly announcing all transactions, number one. And number two, having a trusted system for agreement of participants on all the transactions and their sequence. I again request all of you, it's a little disturbing, my dear friends. Can you please put off your mics? It looks a little odd to say again and again all these things. May I request all of you to please put off your mics? Thank you so very much. So, publicly announcing all transactions and having a trusted system of agreement for participants on all transactions. So, first of all, suppose there are three people, and when there is a network of three people, so when I am making payment to these three people, are say ABC. Suppose A is making payment to B, so A has to announce that I'm making payment of rupees 500 to B. This announcement means A should also not only tell B but to C, who has nothing to do with the transaction. But he must know that A is making payment of rupees 500 to B. You must be thinking why? Because C will verify whether A is having 500 rupees or not. And C will also verify whether if A has also assured C of making payment of 200 rupees, does he have 500 plus 200, that is 700 rupees. But here A, B, C are not known to any one of the participants. So having a trusted system of agreement of participants on all transactions and their sequences. This appears to be a little very unreasonable at the moment right now. You might be feeling that how this is possible if you don't have any idea of blockchain technology. But please wait for a while. Let us think about these two questions. How to build an immutable distributed public ledger. Right, ledger. Please read this as ledger. Sorry, this is ledger. Right, ledger. So how to build an immutable? That means just like in bank, no entry can be changed. Like in treasury, no entry can be changed. Like in your library system, no entry can be changed. So is it possible to have an immutable distributed? It should be distributed ledger and it is immutable. That is, no record can be ever tempered. How to build security and trust? These are two important questions. We will see how blockchain technology or how Bitcoin cryptocurrency, the technology behind Bitcoin cryptocurrency solves this. So how does Bitcoin work? Let us understand, right? So a network of computers keep track of Bitcoin payments and validates each payment. Each payment, single payment is validated. Whether it is made by any two people, it has to be validated by the network. This Bitcoin network also ensures that each payment is added to an ever-growing list of all the Bitcoin payments that have been made. So that means think of making an immutable ledger, right? By implementing a software program for validation, verification, consensus in a very novel data structure called blockchain. So what is a blockchain? It is a novel kind of data structure which is an immutable distributed ledger. It is an immutable distributed ledger. That is the data structure. So blockchain is a decentralized distributed self-clearing ledger. Just a minute. So this is what is, so what is behind cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, and there are now plenty of cryptocurrencies. Behind all cryptocurrencies, there is a technology that is known as the blockchain technology. So this immutable public kind of ledger, distributed ledger, is what is known as blockchain. And the technology to have this kind of ledger is known as Bitcoin technology, blockchain technology. All right. You want some questions?
Sorry for the interruption, ma'am. I have
okay. Yes, please tell me.
It's kind of self-clearing ledger.
Yes.
And that one was kind of public ledger, kind of. You have given the example of public ledger.
Public means what is in the network.
What is the meaning of this self-clearing ledger, ma'am?
Self-clearing in the sense that suppose you have made 500 rupees payment your amount in your wallet should be zero, is it? If you already had 500, so from your wallet it should be cleared. That is what is self-clearing. Okay? We'll come to that. I'll
Yes.
show you how. So think about a blockchain-based Bitcoin payment system. The initial, like right now, without Bitcoin, it is like this. Your money at your bank, and then you use some third-party intermediary third parties, and then their bank and other people and businesses. Like this is how payments are done. Now, after with like Bitcoin, it will be a simple peer-to-peer transaction. That is what happens. So, here you can see is a blockchain structure. It's a data structure that is shown here, blockchain structure. So, a blockchain network consists of nodes or users that can be computers, mobiles, or any other computing device. It also has a set of transactions constituting a block. Like here you can see block, right? These are all blocks. Links between block making a chain of blocks. So you can see that every block is linked with a previous block, as you can see. So it's making a chain. Now there is a main chain, there can be some side chains. Well, we will be discussing about this as and when the time comes. So transactions, how transactions are validated. I will tell you how they are validated. May I request all of you to please mute your mics? So suppose there are some transactions, they are made, right? So transactions are first of all validated. We will discuss how they are validated and broadcast in the network. Whenever a transaction is validated, this is time-stamped also, right? Because of jungle area here, a lot of other insects also keep coming. So suppose there is a set of transactions. If you have enough transactions, they are all bundled in a block. That is known as a block, right? So many transactions constitute a block. Remember that all the transactions are validated, broadcast, and once you have all those validated transactions, they are bundled in a block, and that is known as a block in the blockchain, right? Now, many blocks constitute a blockchain. So you have one block, the second block comes, the third block comes, and there's a link between them. All of them have a link. So there's a digital data link between two blocks. So a blockchain is a sequence of blocks in a specific order. Chaining the blocks makes an immutable record, remember. So remember that this chain is very important here. That makes the record immutable. So blockchain is a sequence of blocks in a specific order. That is why this is called a chain. And chaining the blocks makes record almost like immutable. So a new block is added to the blockchain by a process called mining. It's called mining. You are mining the number of transactions which are validated. You put those transactions into one block and you claim that I have made a block. Like any person in the network will claim that I have made a block. Now, so anybody can claim? No, it's not so easy. Miners have to solve a very difficult mathematical puzzle to find out the header of the block. That is what should be the header of the block that links the next block to the previous chain. What is the header of the block that will link properly in an immutable way the current proposed block to the previous chain? That is what is known as mining operation. So when I am proposing that I have collected some 200 transactions and I want to make a block in the blockchain network, then this has to be validated, verified by other members in the network. If that is verified, then the block is added. Nodes that perform mining operations are called miners, and any new transaction is broadcast to all the nodes in the network, remember? And each miner node creates its own block by collecting new transactions and finding out a proof of work for its block. That proof of work that I discussed with you is solving a very hard mathematical puzzle, right? Now, so miners verify. So suppose somebody has solved that mathematical puzzle. He will propose that this is the header of the block and this is how it can be linked to the all previous blocks. So what will happen that in that case, what will happen that other miners will verify whether this is correct link or not. So that is what is called verification. So why miners should perform these complex tasks? Any guess? Well, miners taking part in the process of creation of a new block are incentivized in terms of Bitcoin. Their efforts in managing the blockchain are recognized in this way. And miners collectively work on reaching a consensus by validating the block, broadcasting the newly created block, the winning block, and confirming transactions. So it is a efforts made by all. So just think about getting 1 Bitcoin. It's a some 8 lakh rupees that you will get in bundling 200 transactions and verifying and proposing a new header for a block. So naturally, that is the reason people are working. So a lot of huge application specific integrated circuit based computers are installed in volumes in different like China, America, in very big countries where people are only employed to run the machine, run the system, so that mathematical puzzle could be solved. So it's a very difficult mathematical puzzle. Out of all the competing miners who take part in block creation, the one who wins in performing all complex mathematical computation of a given difficulty level is given the credit of new block creation addition on the blockchain. So in summary, if you look at what is a blockchain will have a node, right? A user or computer within the blockchain, right? And then you will have a transaction, which is the basic building block of a blockchain. You will have blocks, a data structure that stores the set of transactions, which is distributed to all nodes in the network. A sequence of blocks in a specific order is called chain. Miners are those nodes that perform the block verification process before adding a new block to the blockchain network. And consensus is a set of rules and arrangements to carry out blockchain operations. So there's something called consensus that, okay, if a specific number of people do agree that, okay, this block is correct, then the block is added. So block composition, I seek your attention, please. So what is a block composition? Like, first of all, suppose some 10 people decide to create a blockchain, right? So first a block is created, like that will be the first block in the chain. So a typical block contains previous hash value. Hash value means the header of the block, current block data, that is all the transactions, current hash value, that is the block header, and a Merkle root hash value. I will tell you what exactly is this. previous hash value for the genesis block, that is the first block in the chain, is 0 because there's no previous block to that, right? So if you see, this is current hash, previous hash, input, transactions, all this is what happens in a block. So current hash value or the block identity is a cryptographic hash. It's called number only used once, nonce. Request you to please mute your mic. Thank you so much. So it helps in verifying that the block contains a proof of work. Whenever there is a hash, that hash or the header, which is a cryptographic hash, tells that, okay, the block has been verified. Not only that has been created, it has been verified through a consensus mechanism. So it has solved a proof of work, and then it has been verified by the nodes in the system. Okay, so previous hash is the identity of the parent block of a block. Just a minute. Identity of the parent block. We call it a parent block of the block. The previous block is known as a parent block of the block. Merkle root hash value provides the link to all the previous transactions that is performed in the network. So Merkle root hash value is basically, think of the chain. So all the transactions in the first block, then those transactions might be linked with the second block, the transactions in the second block, then in the third block. So all this is done in a tree structure data structure, tree data structure. And that is that kind of tree is that the kind of tree that we use is a Merkle tree. So it provides a link to all the previous transactions performed in the network. It is actually the hash value of the root of the Merkle tree that contains the record of all the previous transactions. So in the network, you can be having some 100 people. 100 people are making transactions peer-to-peer. So where the records will be kept? It will be kept in the Merkle tree data structure. So let me give you an example of the very first block generated by Satoshi Nakamoto, who invented gave the idea of cryptocurrency Bitcoin. So this is the Genesis block. It was generated on January 3, 2009. But then he used an indirect method of time stamping. Time stamping was done. If you know, 2008-9 was the period of global recession, when our first BTech batch was going out and there was hardly any jobs available. So this is the Times newspaper of January 3, 2009 that gives this news that Chancellor on the brink of second bailout for banks. So he mentioned, Satoshi Nakamoto mentioned this in his Genesis block, just to indicate the timestamp of his block, January 3, 2009. The indirect way. So block composition, let's consider the transaction. Suppose Sita's wallet has 2,500 rupees. Timestamp T1, Geeta's wallet has 1,000 rupees. Timestamp T2, Sita's wallet pays 500 rupees to Geeta's wallet. Then Geeta's wallet confirms the receipt. So what happens that Sita's wallet has now 2,000 rupees and Geeta's wallet has now 1,500 rupees. These are all time-stamped, all transactions are time-stamped. So let us consider this Genesis block. Current hash, say block 0's hash, I will be creating. Previous hash will be 0 because this is the first block. Input, Sita, rupees 2,500, Geeta, rupees 1,000. Transaction is Sita pays 500 to Geeta. and there can be other outputs. So this is how our Genesis block is created. Okay, this is first block created in the blockchain. Okay, so this is how the first block is created. Now the second block will be created. Here I've shown you only one transaction, but there can be many transactions. Okay, so now the input is having Sita's wallet 2,000 rupees, Geeta's wallet is having 1,000 rupees, Geeta pays 1,000 rupees to Sita, and so on and so forth. Now remember that this link will have previous hash, that is the header of the previous block, and the current hash will also be generated, that will contain to some extent the previous information. So this contains the hash value of the previous block also, right? So this way I will see that previous block, and always this will be linked to the previous block. In this way, what happens? Older the block is, the more secure it is, because its data gets embedded in the next and next and next block, right? So it becomes deeper and deeper your blockchain is, the more secure is your data. So let us take a Bitcoin transaction, a digitally signed transaction data that is broadcast to the network. If it is validated, it forms a block in the blockchain. Purpose: to transfer the ownership of Bitcoin amount to Bitcoin address. So Bitcoin, remember, is a specific kind of cryptocurrency that is using blockchain technology as the backbone. So the network is the blockchain network on which Bitcoin, the only transaction that will take place is the transaction of Bitcoin. So main components of a typical transaction are like transaction ID, descriptors and metadata, inputs, outputs. That is how it happens. So let us take this Bitcoin example. You can see, like here, this is the transaction ID. You can see it has certain hash value. It is giving you the input, that is the previous output is the input here, and the value, like suppose 5.93 Bitcoins have been transferred out, and then it has some kind of, you can see that some value has been cryptographically generated, right? So if I take, so this is the transaction ID, this is the transaction descriptor and metadata, this is the input, the output, all these things will be there in the typical Bitcoin transaction. So if I take you to the Bitcoin Explorer, just a minute. Let me take you to a Bitcoin Explorer. Can you see the web browser? Can you see this? Anyone can respond, please. Can you see this?
Yes, ma'am, it is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you can see that this is a live Bitcoin, like live Bitcoin.blockchain.com, live Bitcoin Explorer, right? So right now you can see that the Bitcoin information, including historical price, the most recent mined blocks, the mempool size of unconfirmed transaction. So it is showing in USD. Let us take, for example, Indian rupees. So you can see that the price is, say, 2.6 million to 3.1. Today's price is 2.568 million of one Bitcoin, right? So now you can see the blocks that have been added. On the right side, you can see latest transactions. These are the latest transactions that you can see of, so this is the hash value of the transaction, that is the transaction ID. The timestamp is showing today it is 11:25. At 11:25, these are the transactions that are taking place. Now on the left hand side, you can see the height of the block, that this is the total number of blocks that have been added to the blockchain. Mined 6 minutes ago, this block that must be containing some 200 transactions was mined 6 minutes ago by an unknown miner, and the number of bytes in this block is these many bytes. May I request all of you to please mute your mics? Madam, please mute your mic. Madam, please.
Mute.
Thank you. So let's take this block. I'm clicking on this block, right? So now you can see this is block number 690671. Its hash value. This is a cryptographic hash. I'm in a lecture. Confirmation has been done. Timestamp, you can see 1117. Height is this. Miner is unknown. The number of transactions are 481 in this. Difficulty level is this is the difficulty level. And Merkle root is this. Merkle root is this. And then version, the bits are total number of bits, weight, size, nonce, transaction volume. You can see 471 bitcoins. 471 bitcoin. What is the block reward? Just see, the block creation reward is 6.25 bitcoins. And fee reward, there is some fee also that we will see later. So this is just to show you that how blockchains are useful, how blockchain network is working in case of Bitcoin cryptocurrency. I have come back to my slides. Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am. It is visible.
Thank you so very much. So I have given you a sample transaction also. So current value of 1 Bitcoin, I'm sorry, it's changed now. So please consider this as an older value. It's not like this. We just saw it was 3.5, some 2 point something million. What are you watching, I mean, sir? Can you see my slides, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay. So let us take a simple example of how blocks are given. So what happens? You can see that there were some unconfirmed transactions. They are put in the pool. Unless they are verified, they are all put in a pool. So the nodes will keep on fetching those transactions, as you can see. And those transactions are like Lisa to Sandra. Lisa is giving to Sandra. All these are fetched. They're also verified by nodes. And this node is grouping transactions into block. Block is created, and then the block is propagated. Like it is propagated in the network that I have created block, and others will verify. So whosoever wins in solving that proof of work will be proposing that I have solved this, and then you will verify. So just like think about like you have to solve say quadratic equation, then you will be using method of solving quadratic equation, and then you will solve. And then suppose you give it to your friend that I have solved the quadratic equation problem. So your friend will only do what? She will substitute the value of say x is equal to 5 in the quadratic equation to check whether 5 is satisfying the solution or not. So verifying is easier, but solving the problem is difficult. It requires huge computational resource. So if I look at the blockchain characteristics, there are, say, in this complete immutability, no intermediaries, high security because it is a very good level of cryptographic methods that we use, transparency because each and every transaction is well announced, privacy preserving, nobody ever knows who has paid 500 rupees to whom, scalability and availability. Scalability, till now, blockchains have Bitcoin cryptocurrency network has shown quite a good scalability, but people are now facing problems. Availability, definitely it works. It has the backbone as the the internet as the backbone of this. So these are some important characteristics of the blockchain. I now tell you how blockchain has evolved. The initial work on blockchain concept was not very like 2008 or new. Haber and Stornetta in 1991, at that time there was no concept of Bitcoin, but cryptographically secure, computationally practical procedure having a chain of blocks for digital timestamping of documents so that it is infeasible for a user to tamper the timestamp. So they introduced the concept of what is known as the blockchain technology now. Then Haber and Stornetta also introduced the concept of Merkle tree to the design which improved the efficiency by allowing several document certificates to be collected into one block. Right. Then I told you with Bitcoin it evolved. Satoshi Nakamoto created a Bitcoin with blockchain as its backbone, right? So due to tremendous success of Bitcoin in initial years, several enhancements and alternatives were proposed by researchers and developers. Then came the second generation blockchain network, Ethereum. Ethereum was proposed in 2013 by Buterin, a very young boy, 19 years old only, and he introduced the second generation blockchain. This introduced the concept of a smart contract. So from here, use of blockchain technology in other fields was also made feasible. Initially, blockchain technology was only for money transaction, for these kinds of transactions that involved only cash, digital cash or digital cryptocurrency. But then this introduced the concept of a smart contract, that is contract between two parties. That contract can be, for example, the software supply contract, house property sale and purchase contract. This can be Aadhaar card type of contract making and this. So all these contracts were made possible because he introduced the concept of blockchain technology. I'll come to your answers. Please, to answer your questions, please wait for a while. Ethereum allows a single programmable blockchain network to develop different types of applications instead of a separate blockchain for each type. Like in Bitcoin, like cryptocurrency, for each type of cryptocurrency, a different network was needed. Now with the same network, you can do house purchase and sale, you can do software purchase and sale, you can do document sharing, you can do any kind of sharing, right? So all was possible. So let us take the example. What is a smart contract? Smart contract is a digital agreement that executes automatically. That is, remember, that executes automatically based on the real world inputs in the data. So it is a piece of code in the blockchain identified through a unique address, right? So what happens? Like the moment you switch on a button, your washing machine will be automatically doing all the jobs, like taking the soap from the soap pit, from the soap box, then putting on the water and all this. So this entire mechanism will be automatically done. That is why you call your machine to be fully automatic, right? Washing machine. Similarly, the smart contract, the moment you switch on or you say a smart contract should be executed, it will be automatically executed, just like a hardware chip. Smart contract is a program which is put live on the network, which is known as the blockchain network. So it is a piece of code in the blockchain identified through a unique address. So like unique, you know that every chip has a unique address. Similarly, this smart contract has a unique address. It includes a set of executable functions and state variables, and function code gets executed when when what happens, there is some condition which is specified. Input parameters are given and certain condition is satisfied. So let us take this car hiring app. Right now you are using Ola, Uber kind of app. So app links car drivers and riders, right? That is the basic idea. It is linking car driver and riders. It provides an optimized solution to the rider by minimizing the cost of travel time. It provides a mechanism to let two parties agree in a trade without getting to know each other, isn't it? You are riding on a car, in a car. You're riding a car and you do not know who the driver is. How is this trust built? Through a driver's proof of identity and the reputation through ratings. That is why you know that drivers keep telling you that please rate me, right? So this is a network which is a centralized network. Like Ola and Uber own this network. They put drivers in the network and they remove drivers in the network. They include customers in the network. They may remove customers in the network if the people report repeatedly the bad behavior. So let us take same example of car hiring now. Think of a smart contract to decentralize Ola and Uber app. So there's a demand supply problem. So the question is, it is a trustless peer-to-peer network. All conditions are coded, like driver should have a specific repute and executed in a secure and transparent manner. So what happens that I keep getting the, suppose I have the app, I will be getting the information of 5 drivers maybe who are close to me, and I will check for the smart contract will check for me that which is the best possible solution and will propose you a solution. But this will happen without a central network, but a peer-to-peer network between drivers and the customers. So a smart contract is a central component of Ethereum blockchain, the second generation blockchain, that kind of blockchain in which you can say that in the same network, you can do different kind of trading. Like I told you in this car trading, you create a blockchain network. There you can also use house property trading. So Nick Szabo, who introduced the concept of digital currency, called BitGold, this call in 19, defined smart contracts as computerized transaction protocols that execute terms of contract. Okay. They render smart contracts render transactions that are traceable, transparent, and immutable. So a smart contract represents a business logic where the logic is coded in a special high-level language. For example, Solidity is one of the very industry standard language. Any idea about sensor? Dr. K. Bhupati, there's no concept of sensor here. I don't know what kind of sensor are you talking about. There's no concept of sensor here in this. As a software program, right? And that can be like when I say network, it can be network through the internet. Okay. So what is a smart contract? Functions or smart contracts are invoked by messages. Like suppose I invoke a message that I want to hire a taxi. So the moment I invoke a message as a node in the network, the smart contract, which is responsible for finding out the best possible solution, will be invoked. Transaction specifies these messages and input parameters for each of the messages. Like I say, I want to hire a taxi from Dumna Airport Road of Jabalpur to say the to triple IT Jabalpur, right? So all this is input parameters. So there are multiple smart contract platforms, like Ethereum is one of them. You can use Hyperledger, you can use Rootstock, Ripple, these several who want to run their own, blockchain network. For example, in an academic network, we can run our own blockchain network of students. That is very much possible. Okay, fine. So if I look at the smart contract, the first functional implementation of Ethereum was done by Gavin Wood by proposing Solidity language to write smart contracts. Solidity, like you must have heard about C, C++, Java. These are object-oriented languages. Solidity is also like an object-oriented language, but this is known as contract-oriented language. So it is easy to write contract in Solidity language. It looks quite similar to Python or Java. Solidity team of Ethereum project later developed the language, and the team was led by Christian Rittweisner. With this evolution, now if you look at ethereum.org, Ethereum is a global open source platform for decentralized applications. You can run any kind of application, right? On Ethereum, you can write code that controls digital value, runs exactly as programmed, and is accessible anywhere in the world. So I would like to also tell you about the Hyperledger, a greenhouse for enterprise level blockchain technology development. It's a global consortium of more than 80 institutional members that are all big companies, to develop the proof of concept and prototype of finance system for automatic execution of financial transactions in real time, right? So you have a consortium, this consortium makes things easy for enterprise level enterprises to create blockchain for their own network. The concept of a smart contract between two parties makes it easy and efficient for operational transaction. So to keep pace with Industry 4.0 revolution, manufacturing companies are now adopting enterprise level blockchain networks for their operations and management. And they're like so many things like smart factories, a smart supply chain. Blockchain technology is playing a very important role. So if you look at the applications, my dear friends, financial technology is one of them, which requires new technologies to make more efficient, like banking, insurance, trading, investments, crowdfunding. So insurance, you know that once many of you might have faced COVID problem, and many of the people lost their lives, unfortunately. Many of them got well and went back home, but insurance became a problem. Why? Because again, there is a central insurance thing. So people are now devising blockchain technology for the ease of people who are insured, and for insurance companies as well. Internet of Things. manufacturing industry, record maintenance and asset and inventory, supply chain management, healthcare, governance and management, education, and then smart grid, renewable energy, supply chain management. All these things are now rapidly developing. So if I look at blockchain technology applications, basically they're developed as decentralized apps. They're not like any other app, but these are decentralized apps. Smart contracts can be directly used by nodes to make transactions through Ethereum clients. For providing user-friendly interfaces, DApps are developed to implement these contracts and make transactions. So DApp is what? It provides an environment just like any other app, right? Like your mobile apps. So it is an end-to-end application on a blockchain. It depends on functionality of the blockchain for its infrastructure and operations. And so it's all completely decentralized app. So you must be thinking, what is the difference between traditional app and a blockchain network? So traditional web app use HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to render a web page. This page interacts with a centralized database, remember, right? Where all the data is recorded. But like Amazon, Twitter, Facebook, Flipkart, the web page will be calling an API to process and display your data on the page, right? That will be a central server. Of course, their data is there in the cloud, but that is a centrally managed. User IDs and password are used for identification and authentication. This is relatively low level of security since personal information is stored in your blockchain network. Everything is stored in a central server, right? You must have seen that sometimes smart card, like credit card data is stolen. Sometimes your Facebook page is hacked. That happens. So the front end of DApp uses the same technology to render the page, right? The front end contains a wallet that communicates with the blockchain. The wallet manages cryptographic keys and blockchain addresses. Public key infrastructure is used for user identification and authentication. Instead of an API connecting to database, the wallet software is used to activate smart contracts, which in their turn interact with a blockchain net. That is the only difference you can see. So in traditional website, you can see front-end API database. But in Web3 compatible website, which blockchain uses, your front-end, including wallet, smart contract, and then blockchain. That is the chain that happens. So if you look at the blockchain adoption industry, wave one was when awareness was built up between 2011 and 16. Wave two between 16 and 18, a lot of experimentation. Still experimentations continue. In wave three, it is a transformation stage. Transformation of companies' core business and logic, and all the management, supply chain, everything is being transformed. So you can see a lot of things like core value drivers are smart. So if you can see, the blockchain is in the backbone network. Blockchain is the working as a backbone of all these technologies that are being developed. And you have the value drivers are like smart solution, smart products, smart supply chain, and smart factories. So the fusion of the physical and virtual world into cyber physical system is through blockchain. Not 7, please, 7 is a somehow typo. So that is all. Thank you, all of you. And I'm ready for the questions if you have. So I can see feedback of this session. Okay, thank you. Thank you so very much for your nice comments. Thank you so much. Questions if you have, yeah.
Participants? Participants, you may have asked any question to the ma'am.
Yes, I have a question. May I ask?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yes, ma'am, I want to ask that the energy consumption of the blockchain technology is very high. As we have seen in news also that Elon Musk is not recommending Bitcoins and Ethereum and other blockchain technology cryptocurrencies. So what can be measures to reduce this energy consumption? Because as a result of this, we will face a very acute and huge problem in future, which we are facing these days also, like climate change and other things. So what could be the ways in
May I
which
know your name, please? Yeah.
I'm Kirti Gupta.
From?
Kirti Gupta from Mumbai.
From?
From Mumbai.
Okay,
Mumbai.
thank you. Thank you, Preeti ji. Well, blockchain technology itself is evolving. As I told you that this is evolving. So Ethereum initially used proof of work. Proof of work is still considered to be very robust. And so people are like Bitcoin is using proof of work. Like Ethereum 2.0, which has been announced in December 2020, Ethereum is using a proof of authority or proof of stake. Yeah. Can you hear me? Are you getting my point? So they are changing their method of consensus. That is the taking the highest energy consumption is done by. Yes, please. Can't you hear me?
Ma'am, you're audible?
We all can hear you,
Somebody
madam.
is saying I don't understand. I mean, somebody is saying, excuse me, ma'am, so I could not get that. Are you getting my point, Preeti ji? That now the technologies is also evolving. So Ethereum 2.0 has introduced a new method of consensus, and that is very, very energy efficient as compared to the proof of work, which was used by Ethereum, initial versions of Ethereum. And that's all, like still Bitcoin is using that. Any other question?
Participants, any other question?
Somebody was asking questions, so I
Anybody? Any of the participant?
Yeah, actually, I do have a question. I'm Amit from Delhi, HMRIT.
Okay, please.
As we all know that blockchain have the node size is very less. The node size of blockchain is quite less. So what will be the solution for the if we have big data kind of things in blockchain? Means if we
What
want
do you mean by node size is very less, Amitji? What do you mean by node size is very less?
Means if we talk about the record where we put in block or the information we that take a very short time of that take a memory, and but if it will be
Please,
increased.
will you please repeat? Node size is very less means what, Amitji?
As we it is a drawback of blockchain that blockchain has a less size node, and it is not able to deal with
No,
large
I'm
size
not
of
getting less size. Means what? Less size means?
means if we are
Node is
storing
like I can be a node. My computer is a node. So what do you mean by node is not clear to me.
But on the blockchain we can't store a large amount of data. So how can we
You
use?
want to say that, okay, you want to say that on the blockchain itself, you can store, but that require cost. So what do? That we keep the data off the shelf. Whenever it is required, that amount of data is floated on the blockchain, right? So, like, that we are keeping our data in the cloud. Why? Because the storage in your computer is may cost you another computer. So what do? You store many things in the cloud. Otherwise, you will be purchasing a hard disk, another hard disk, the third hard disk, and the fourth hard disk, right? So, so that is the reason you are using this. So, node size is not like there's no restriction on the node size. The only thing is that whenever you float any data in the blockchain, which is Ethereum based, then that is amounting cost to you. But if I look at the Hyperledger or enterprise level blockchain, then the these are not based on cryptocurrency. Hyperledger is not based on cryptocurrency. Hyperledger Fabric Network is not based on cryptocurrency. Have I answered your question, Amit?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I got it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Any other question?
Madam, I would like to ask you one question. May I ask you one question?
Yes, please. Sir, may I know what's your name?
Sir, he's
I am
principal,
Dr.
sir.
Shiv Sagar, Principal, Gyan Institute of Technology and Sciences. Dr. Ravindra Shirsad.
Okay. Please.
What is the basic competency required to become a miner?
Oh my God. For becoming miner in Bitcoin technology,
What kind of knowledge is required? What kind of knowledge is required?
Knowledge.
This blockchain
Knowledge. No, actually, it's basically the proof of work in Bitcoin cryptocurrency and based blockchain. All that you need is, there is a simple algorithm that you have to run with the thousands of random values, and those random values take a lot of computational time. That's all. So if I look at the knowledge that is required, any say 12th pass student can also do that if he has a little bit of understanding of what an algorithm is. That's all. But it requires like computation, like the number that is required to be fetched is based on the number that is required to be fetched requires a huge computation, and that is why thousands and thousands of ASIC computers are launched, put together in parallel to solve that problem, so that you can mine the cryptocurrency. That's all.
So do you
Thank
mean
you,
to
sir.
say that your mathematics should be very strong?
No, not
No?
necessarily.
Okay.
Because
madam,
the mathematics is done by algorithm.
Okay.
So you really need to be, like for an Indian mathematics, I would say an Indian generally is not dumb in mathematics. They're all good in mathematics.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, not even engineers. I see that if you see any other person, say from rest of Asia, we think that we are better, like except for China. China is also good in mathematics.
And you talked about
बचपन से हम लोगों को पढ़ाते हैं ना, इतना ज्यादा मैथमेटिक्स पढ़ाते हैं कि हम लोग मैथमेटिक्स में कभी डफर हो ही नहीं पाते. That is what is the problem.
Very true. मैथ्स के बेसिस पे इंजीनियरिंग में एडमिशन मिला सभी लोगों को.
सही बात है.
Madam, आपने एक you have talked about one language also, that is Solidity language. Solidity.
I teach in my course. I take this course in my institute. Solidity is a simple to learn language.
You suggest any book for that?
There is a very good tutorial, Solidity tutorial.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Official
Thank you.
tutorial of Solidity. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Can I conclude the session now?
Sure. Yeah, thank you. Thanks to all the participants. We are meeting after 15 minutes.
Ma'am, can I summarize the session in few words?
Yeah, sure.
So ma'am has started the lecture with the Industry 4.0, that is the fourth industrial revolution. Then ma'am has described about the blockchain technology, that it is a pure peer-to-peer version of electronic cash transfer without involving the banks or the other financial institutions. She has compared the system with the electricity board, that without involving the electricity board, we cannot transfer the electricity from one point to another. But this can happen when we are transferring the cash from one person to another, with that if we don't involve the bank. She has defined ma'am has defined the blockchain technology as a decentralized, distributed, novel method of data structure, and this is a self-clearing ledger. Okay. And she has the major topic that was covered is the block composition. Ma'am related about the Bitcoin technology, which is a special cryptocurrency that is a major part of blockchain technology. That was very well part of the lecture. Madam has showed the sample transaction, that how the blocks are added and how the chain is created. Then ma'am has given us the characteristics of the blockchain technology, that it is highly secure, it is immutable, transparency is there in the system, it is scalable and available, it maintains the privacy, preservance, etc. And ma'am has told us about the blockchain evolution and smart contracts, and she has given about the knowledge of applications of blockchain. There are many applications. The first is the financial technology industry, Internet of Things, in manufacturing industries, in medical industries, in energy sector. So this was the major part which was covered by the ma'am in this session. Ma'am, I'd like to tell you that participants are very happy. I can very well see the chat box that all of them are conveying the thanks to you. So we are happy to have you with us.
Thank you. Thanks for summarizing. We are meeting 12:15, right?
Yeah. We have another session at 12:15. So should we meet after at 12:15 now, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank